Aloha, party people. You are listening to Inside the Desert Oasis Room, episode number 188. This episode is sponsored by the Tiki Bar T-Shirt Club, where their monthly t-shirt designs pay tribute to a Polynesian bar or restaurant from days long past. Each design is available for a limited time and will never be produced again. For the collectors out there, be sure to check out their subscription program, where they offer a discounted 3, 6, or 12-month plan, or you can always buy shirts one at a time. For more information and to check out this month's shirt, visit tikibartshirtclub.com. This podcast is brought to you in part by the Tiki Tea, a family-owned and operated tropical drink bar in Los Angeles, California. Come get their house specialty, the Ray's Mistake, for only $6 on Wednesdays until 9 p.m. For more information, check out their website, tiki-ti.com. If you have a product, service, or event that you'd like to bring attention to, we can help. This podcast reaches thousands of listeners in over 100 countries every week. Imagine hearing your ad in this spot, just like you're hearing this one right now. Sponsor an episode and get the exposure you deserve. For more information, go to desertoasisroom.com and click on Services. Today, we chat with the Gentlemen of Leisure, the artist McBiff, Rick Miller, and Dan Watson. On this belated St. Paddy's episode, we chat about our respective roots, the history and legacy every person leaves for future generations, and other thought-provoking, emotionally stimulating topics. As always, I hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did bringing it to you. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider helping us with your support during this challenging time. Stop by desertoasisroom.com to check out our merch or leave us a tip. And if you'd like to follow our adventures, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/PolynesianPop, where you'll see drink recipes, event vlogs, and more. Alrighty, grab a drink and join us inside the Desert Oasis Room with the Gentlemen of Leisure, the artist McBiff, Rick Miller, and Dan Watson.
Desert Oasis Room.
What timing?
Perfect timing, Rick.
Yeah,
we
Rick.
just started the show without you, of course.
Come on in.
You want to go clip your stupid thing on?
How about you clip your microphone
so we look
on, Rick?
Professional here.
Alrighty, folks. We are back inside the Desert Oasis Room for another episode of the podcast. And we are recording our belated St. Paddy's Day episode. And I apologize for this coming out late, but we weren't able to figure out a date where all of us were available prior to St. Paddy's Day, so we're doing it 3 days after.
We're only 1/10% late.
You know, it's a day a person.
0.1%. I love that.
Yeah, there you go.
So if you're wondering what our buddy McBiff is referencing, well, first of all, let's say who's here on this podcast. That was our friend McBiff.
Hey.
Hello.
And we are also here with the artist Dan Watson.
Hello. Hello.
And the one and only Gentleman of Leisure,
The fabulous
Rick Miller.
the fabulous Rick Miller.
Boo.
Boo.
Spicy.
I was going to call him the not sexy Rick Miller.
No, he's spicy.
Spicy Rick.
I'm
Spicy
spicy.
Rick.
That sounded like something else.
So we have prefaced this episode with actually a YouTube video where we sampled, how many was that? 8 Irish whiskeys?
8 Irish whiskeys.
Twice.
Eight Irish whiskeys. Twice. And I'm excited about this episode because I did a 23andMe.
Bam.
Yeah, you did.
And these guys have heard this again and again and again, and I'm going to tell the story again for all of our listeners out there. This past Christmas, my wife asked me what I wanted as a Christmas gift, and I said, I want to do a 23andMe. So she bought me a 23andMe. I spit in the tube, send it out. And I expected to see a bunch of Spanish in my genetics, and it came back with absolutely zero Spanish, 10% Chinese, And actually, if I took the data and looked at it in MyHeritage, which I did, was I uploaded it to MyHeritage. At MyHeritage, it's actually 20% Chinese. I didn't expect any of that at all. I got 0.6% Korean, and I got 0.1% Irish.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. And that is where we are getting McBiff's reference of 0.1%. So I had to.
It's a toe tip.
I had to call McBiff right away. Actually, I was so excited. He's the first person I thought of. And I was
Not
like,
me?
you guys,
Damn.
we have to do a podcast. And so that's what we are doing today.
Not McMiller.
Not McMiller. So it's hilarious because I saw McBiff last week.
We did.
And I walked in and I said, brother!
Top of the morning to you.
And he looked at me like, he's like, okay.
Had you clicked your heels, he might have experienced the
He's
rest.
like, all right, what? So, anyway, it was surprising and actually it's kind of strange because I all of a sudden had this. What's the word I'm looking for? I was like strangely proud of something that I had never known
the
about.
Irish pride.
Exactly.
It took over.
Strangely proud of something that I wasn't familiar with. But
Oh, Adrian.
I felt all of a sudden
Suddenly
behind
wanted a
with.
potato.
I needed to know more about my history, right? My heritage.
Yeah.
And so we prefaced this particular episode with remedying that with 8 shots of whiskey.
Totally.
Irish whiskey. So I'm going to stop talking. I want to say welcome to the podcast. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As I mentioned before, we are adequately lubricated at the moment.
Yeah, we are.
We just had some Irish whiskey and some American pizza.
Yeah.
And I promise I will not
Dominoes.
drop the F-bombs like last time.
You can drop
What?
F-bombs. We're all adults here.
When McBiff was making me suicide drinks.
Dude, every other word was an F-bomb.
Yes, so I'm going to try to behave this time.
That's
No,
okay.
no,
We're all
no.
adults
We're
here.
not going to let Rick talk this time.
Yeah, so it's funny. So my buddy...
Nobody listened last time because
That was an intro. That was an intro
Yeah,
right there
exactly.
from the Fabulous One.
So if you're like, oh, did you hear the last podcast? I'm like, nope, I don't think I want to. Like,
You didn't listen to the last one?
well, no, I
listened
was
to it.
there, and so it's funny. So my
I
what
buddy,
you're
lived it.
saying.
He says, I lived it.
yeah, I lived it. So it's funny. So
You
my,
don't remember it, though.
Yeah, so my buddy Megan Sinclair, she's like, oh, she goes, did you listen? I lived that, and I go,
I lived it.
and I'm like, she goes, you were a train wreck, and I'm like, oh my, but
You were a train wreck.
but in fairness,
It was the least listened to episode of all time on Desert Oasis
be
Road.
quiet.
That's hilarious.
But in fairness, like McBiff was making me these suicide drinks out of a large tiki drink. I was like chatting because I talk too much.
He drank
And-
about a liter of Jameson that
yeah.
day.
So I
I don't even remember the suicide drink that you're mentioning.
All it was Jameson inside of a tiki mug.
yeah, nonstop. But
So I just filled it up. Every time he wanted me to make him a cocktail, I just filled it up with Jameson. and I called it something different every time, and he
Yeah.
believed it because
Yeah.
it's freaking Rick Miller.
because I was just chit chatting, I was like, because I talk too much.
That's
and then
And I just sat here laughing the whole time.
and so,
Well,
the
it's
funny thing,
fabulous.
so then I was like, okay.
And then it got crappy.
And then I'm like, okay, because I, had a little, I said,
I'm not doing that this time.
So Adrian, like being the kind host he is, offered me to stay at his house, but I did not, happy wife, happy life. I didn't want to intrude, so I slept in my car.
that you
In the
respected
neighbor's
that.
driveway.
Right. Well, that house has been sold now. So what happened was Rick was going to sleep in his car out on the sidewalk, and I said, "Dude, you can't sleep in the street. If you insist on sleeping outside,
He's
you
from
can't
LA,
sleep on
he's
the
used to
street."
it.
Yeah.
And so we moved his car. Actually, McBiff moved his car to the house next door, which is up for sale because no one was living there. And he slept on the driveway for a few
No, I
hours.
slept
As
in
a
my
matter of
car.
fact, in your car.
In
But-
my car.
So here's the thing. So
because we're responsible.
Steph comes home, and I explain the whole thing to her, and she's like, "Why is he sleeping in his car? He should be sleeping in the house." And I said, "Yes. I keep telling him he should come into the house." And I went out there to go get you, and you were gone.
They didn't let you sleep in here because you're Irish. Now
Yeah.
they would. 'Cause he's one-
Yeah, now that you're family.
Right. No, but like I say, I used to be married, so I understand. Happy wife, happy life.
I appreciate
Yeah, so
that.
I didn't
But you
wanna
know
hear-
what? Look, Steph's cool. She would have let you stay here. So it's not me. I'm not
was
married to a
just a joke.
curmudgeon, you know.
Yeah.
So we've had some interesting conversation throughout the day because this whole 23andMe thing has really kind of it's changed the way that I looked at a lot of things, right? So one of the things was I had mentioned to these guys was this whole thing about documenting our roots. You know, this particular journey that I started going down, looking at my ancestors and trying to figure out who my great-grandparents were and my great-great-grandparents and all that. I didn't really get so far. I actually got as far as I had already done research on my own. And I had spoken to an aunt of mine who's already in her late 70s, and we recorded the interview, and I asked about my ancestors and my great-grandfather, for example. And I didn't even get his name. She didn't remember his name because he passed before she was born. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, I would love to at least know his name. And then at the next level, at least see a photo. I don't have any of that. And this thing that we're doing today with this digital media, right? We're doing YouTube and we're doing these podcasts and stuff. Something that is just mind-blowing to me is that 5 generations, 6 generations, 7 generations down the line, my great-great-great-great-great-grandkids can look back and see a video of you guys as my friends and see us hanging out and comment about, oh my God, look at their hairstyles. Oh my God, look at what they're wearing. Oh my God, like they can see a time capsule of 2020, 2021. And
God, I'm sorry.
I know, right?
Yeah. My great-great-great-grandpa was Filipino.
Oh
How
my
weird
God.
is that?
Right.
We're all
and that's
Irish
the other
now.
thing. That's the other thing. Is that I look back at, I think back to this 23andMe report, and my Irish DNA is only 1/10%. It's there.
It's huge.
But it's very, very small.
It tells an important story.
It tells an important story, which it brings up more questions and answers, right? Because now I want to go back and look at who was this person.
How cool would that be to find that
Oh,
out?
dude, I would
you
love
know?
that.
Yeah.
I would
Like,
love
was
that.
he marooned on the island from a pirate ship?
Right.
Did he like?
What
was
brought
he
him
a
to the Philippines?
Wayfarer?
Was he?
something,
Did he come because of some kind of trade?
Yeah.
Was it a slave trade? Was it,
Hopefully not.
or was it a she? And was it did she come through like some kind of like a prostitution trade? Like,
Yeah.
or was it?
Traded for salt.
Yeah, or was it through like militia? Was he part of some kind of a movement, or did he meet somebody that made him want to move to the other side of the world? And
Yeah.
if you think about like how diluted that piece of DNA is, this happened many generations ago, obviously, which means that at the time that this particular person, he or she, went to the Philippines, this was a time when it's not like jumping on an airplane and traveling.
No.
Right. This is somebody that really had to make an effort to get there. How did this happen? And so there's more questions than answers for me now than ever before.
Totally.
And it's mind blowing, you know. But with today's day and age, right? These questions can be answered, and I think it's going to be kind of mind blowing too. Like, I don't know where 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 generations from now, where they're going to be living. They could be living in the Middle East. They could be living in
They could be
Canada.
living on Mars.
They could be living on Mars. And they're going to look back and they're going to say, holy shit, look at my great-grandfather. He's so brown.
He's never even been to the moon.
Have you seen
He's
that?
never even been to the moon.
But man, he could drink some amazing whiskey.
Right? And you
It's
guys,
600-year-old Irish whiskey.
you guys are going to be part of that story and part of that history because they're going to see you guys
I'm sorry about that.
in that in that video. But that kind of it's mind-blowing because now you're part of
History.
history.
Yep.
You're
And
part
your,
of that
and your
story.
family's history.
Yeah.
My family's history.
And the tie
And you're
can make the
part,
world
we're
smaller,
all part
right?
of each
Right?
other's history.
Isn't that crazy?
We always say that. The world's
What I
small.
love about America, though,
Right.
man,
That's
the
the way to
melting
tie
pot
everybody
we've
together.
got here is
Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But so anyway, I'm feeling a little bit of I've been feeling a little bit of emotions today. You know, feeling closer to my Irish
We've
brothers.
hugged a lot today.
Yeah.
Right.
We've hugged it
Special
out.
places.
We've hugged a lot, and for
social
those that
places.
for those that
And
cannot
social
see
places.
this recording, go to the YouTube and you'll see we're all wearing the same shirts.
We're in the same shirt gang.
We're
Yeah,
feeling
we're insane,
that connected today, right?
And I have to
Jabberwockies have
say,
nothing on us.
these are very comfortable McBiff shirts. And not only that, but what really impresses me is that the pockets
Right?
match up with the regular pattern.
Oh my
American
God!
made, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
That's it.
Yes, and so
Yeah.
this is how you can tell whether a shirt is
Yeah.
quality made or not, is whether or not like the design.
I paid
of
a
the
lot extra for that.
So tell us about that, because I'm like when I like got it, I was like, oh my God. So tell us about it.
Well, the print lines up with the pocket.
Yeah.
Wow,
Perfect.
That's perfect.
I love
McBiff
it.
is a man of many words.
That's right. That's right.
Sorry,
So-
sorted.
Many talents and many qualities.
And where is it made?
Right here in California.
That's it. Good old US of A.
But we just, I mean, you know, I love the family talk we were doing with Adrian and all that. But
Yes.
we could just, yeah.
Are we just going to keep going down that line?
I don't know.
Sure.
But I mean, I appreciate you bringing up my shirt. I'm sure we'll talk about all that.
Oh, we're definitely going to promote
You know.
this shirt
Yeah,
for
we're all-
sure. This
we're
is
all
one of the
family
coolest
here.
shirts.
But I really love what you were talking about with your family and history, because I'm in the same boat there. You know, my family doesn't care a whole lot except for outside of me, where our heritage came from. I'm like the first one. I'm like, I want to know more about.
That's
where we
hard
came
to
from.
believe. Well, you know what? That's a different generation.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not as important to them as it is to our generation.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
even my
they're-
grandparents didn't care.
The generation before was focusing on the future and on the big picture and the retirement.
Right.
We focus a lot on our kids and on the life experiences versus the retirement and the grand scheme of things. The end all. Our game is more in the present. Versus, I think our
Right.
parents was more towards the future, of thinking about the
Yeah.
future and being well off in the future, where we live for and we spend for the present.
I mean, well, I'm on, at least with my family, I'm the only one that started doing our family tree.
Oh,
About
really?
5 years ago, trying to figure out everything. 'Cause
How
nobody's
much of a
done it
challenge has
before.
that been for you?
Oh man, it's been tough. Like, my last name is McNeely, not McBiff.
What?
What?
Oh my gosh!
Get out of
what?
here.
So it was
Color me shocked.
it was spelled. It's spelled really awkwardly. So it's like missing a letter. I don't know if that came through Ellis Island or not. It probably did, like most people.
So wouldn't missing the letter kind of hone it down for you a little bit?
I don't know. No. The earliest name I could find, the way it was spelled, the way it is now, was in
Right.
like a 1901 census that the government did. So we've been here at least through there. So, but it was, I think we had an extra E in our name, but then the
Okay.
census just spelled it differently, and then everything changed after that.
Huh.
But then on my grandmother's side, you know, we came from like Scotland, and you know, but I found lineage all the way back to 1670 something.
Wow,
It
how
was
did you find
nuts.
that?
Just going through, well, Ancestry.com helped a lot.
Okay.
And then contacting every family member I could find.
Yeah.
You know, through the internet. Facebook helped a lot.
Yeah.
So, do you think
So-
the addition of the extra E might have been lost through the we'll just group it all together as one type thing?
I think somebody
things
just
were looser
misspelled
back
it.
in the day.
Somebody misspelled it in that census. I think.
Some of it is misspelled. Like
or in Ellis Island. I'm not
Okay,
too
yeah.
sure. Because I went to Ellis Island
Yeah,
to
'cause
look
things
up
were
our
looser
name.
back then, and they weren't
Yeah.
they were recorded quite as tight as they are today. And
when names were going through Ellis Island, there were a lot of things that were changed. Like some of it had to do with like assimilation, right?
Okay.
So there were immigrants that came through that maybe had a name that was either long or hard to pronounce, and they would just shorten it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
going forward
Every
from that
day.
point,
Yeah.
that was the new name.
Okay.
And unless you knew that and you traced
Right.
it back to that, you would be basically chasing your tail, looking in the wrong place. You
And if
wouldn't
you didn't
even
know how to spell your name or whatever, dude, you just
Interesting.
got stuck with Johnson or Smith or something.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
there's
so
like a million.
So for me,
Johnsons
when
and
my
Smiths.
mom was born, she was handed off at the hospital right out of the door. So when she was born, she got passed off to her family. So we kind of lost some heritage that way. And then my dad, when he was just a kid, his mom ended up remarrying, picked up the new dad's last name, and then that kind of history kind of got lost for me. So I don't really have the way to look back through dad, the way to look back through mom's actual family, only their adoptive or their
How does that how do you feel about that? Is it? And the reason why I ask is that before doing this whole 23andMe thing, I tried tracing my own genealogy. I only got back as far as my grandfather, who immigrated here from the Philippines, and I just chalked it up to the fact that since he was the first one to really kind of immigrate, he wasn't. My parents immigrated first, but the fact is that since nobody before him in my lineage came here, all the records stopped at him.
Right.
But it turns out, after talking to my aunt and doing this interview with her, a lot of those records were gone by the time she was born because there were deaths and divorces and all that kind of stuff. And it was a little frustrating for me because I wanted to know more. I'm jealous about, like, when I see these TV shows where they help celebrities trace their path.
Sure.
You know, there's shows like Who Do You Think You Are? And they trace their lineage. And I think, like, man, I'd love to get help with that.
Right.
But it gets frustrating to not know.
Right.
And then at one point, I just had to learn to accept that I will probably never know.
And I think that's where I'm at. I know my daughter would like to know a little bit more history, but I just kind of look past that. I just kind of look at everybody as equal type thing, and
sure,
and you know, it's more of a family type deal. I just never really put much of an interest into knowing that because I just thought we were all
like the name Watson.
Right.
Do you know where that comes from?
So I know it's got a lot of history. I know some of the heritage behind Watson, but now Watson was my mother's maiden last name, whereas my father's last name was Spielman. So then when we were growing up, my mom went ahead after the divorce and the separation and whatnot, went and back when you could do this, applied for our Social Security cards and just rolled everybody's last name to Watson.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I've got a whole a German type last name and history going with that.
I'm glad I don't have to call you Spielman.
And I just never, to be honest with you, I just never really put much of an interest in it because I just didn't. I just looked at everybody as equal, and I don't know. I just never really put much care in it. My daughter, is adamant about wanting to know what the history is, so I'm going to end up doing a 23.
So, and that's the thing is that the generations are different. They're more interested to the younger generations with their.
Yeah, Dan doesn't care about his family, but his daughter does.
Well, you know, and also I think the medical history would probably have a lot to do with it too and stuff too. So
that's something that the 23andMe will actually find for you. You know, growing up, I never liked cilantro. And
what?
What? Get out of here!
You live in California, man.
California.
What? Your part? Oh no, you're not. Sorry.
You put cilantro in everything.
You got to have cilantro because
cilantro and Coke.
Yes, there's the Mexican food and all that kind of stuff. But you know, my 23andMe revealed that I have something like a 90% chance of not liking cilantro. It's actually in my genes. Why I don't like it.
You do not like cilantro?
I do not like cilantro.
And that actually
you're
told
no
you
longer
that?
Irish.
It told it
How
to me
weird.
by 23andMe. It's kind of strange. But and here's the thing. So if you get a 23andMe,
right?
And do you have any siblings?
I do.
Boys or girls?
I have a brother and a sister.
Okay, so based on what I've read, the DNA report for your sister will probably be different than yours because there are things that show up in a female's DNA report that don't show up in a male's.
Because there's a composite version. Because he's got
Why is that?
The XX and the XY chromosomes, and
So I've been trying to encourage one of my sisters to go get it done because she keeps saying she wants to get it done after she saw mine.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I think she already thinks like, oh well, I already know all the answers because I just read his. You know,
so she's going to be Spanish and you aren't, maybe.
That sounds like
that
a
would
sister.
freaking.
on the 23andMe, it's like, you know, there's like, if my sister did it, it's like I can find out like both the mitochondrial DNA, which is on my mom's side, and also the Y DNA, but my sister can't find out the Y DNA like my father's side,
right.
and that's why I found out, like, because my sister, my dad, and I, like, she's one of my half sisters. We all took it, so we did like 4 different ones. We did 23andMe, Ancestry.com, Family Tree DNA, and
you did all of those.
Yeah, we did 4 of them and stuff. And
just wanted to make sure.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like,
I wanted to stamp it.
Yeah, so they're consistent, but they each give you like different like footprints of.
So did any of them vary? Did any of them
they were very similar, but they told me certain things that one would tell me something that the other didn't, but that I knew. So, for example, on my mom's side, one of the family members that we got in contact with, her whole background is genealogy. This is what she's done her entire life. So I lost contact with her like 30 years ago. And then when I did this...
Rick's 80 years old, by the way.
Exactly. I am 1 million years old.
right.
And so then it's like...
Looks like he's 12.
We got in touch again. And so she had done all of this. And so I knew a lot of the stuff that was true. So for example, like on my mom's side, my first direct ancestor on my mom's side was kidnapped from Ireland and sold in Pennsylvania in 1742.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah, and if you go on Wikipedia, his name is Reverend Corbally, and you look up the Corbally family massacre. So he was actually yeah. So
and that's what I would like to know too. I'd like to know some cool stories like that.
Yeah.
Too.
So
as much as I say everybody's equal, and I look at everybody as being the same, I would love to know a little cool stuff like that in my history as well.
Yeah. So he was appointed a judge by Patrick Henry, and so he was sold as a slave as 13 years old in Pennsylvania, and he was sold, and then he escaped. He actually ran off with the people who they were Mennonites, and they treated him nice. But he actually ran off with their daughter, and they got married. Yeah. And then, so then he later on
ran off with an Amish daughter.
Wow,
Mennonite.
1/10 of 1%.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. So my mom's aunt and uncles are members of Daughters of the American Revolution and Sons of the American Revolution because they trace back to him because he fought against the British. So he was an American
good for him.
patriot. Yeah. And so it's a very interesting story. So I learned about that. So I was like, so I told people like, listen, it's like when you come to America, no matter where we come from, we came from nothing. We came. This is a land.
We're a big ass melting pot.
Yeah, we're big ass melting pot.
Totally are.
And it's like so. Like my family, came as a slave. And was sold in Pennsylvania, and so that's very interesting. I think it's like what's exciting to hear about your story that you were telling us earlier. I don't want to give it some of the stuff away, but I think that's like very important. We need to be able to exchange these stories because once we exchange these cultural stories, then we understand each other better. Yep. And these are like very personal. So like I tell people like I came from like nothing. Like my direct ancestor was kidnapped and sold as 13. And then on my dad's side, when we did that, I found out on the 23andMe because of the Y DNA, we have this unique genetic marker on like the Y chromosome that it is the oldest known. Like the University of Dublin did there's a documentary on YouTube, and it talks about the University of Dublin they traced this unique genetic marker to the northwest corner of Ireland that certain people had, and they traced it back to Niall the Nine Hostages. I have that unique genetic marker.
Wow.
Niall the Nine Hostages, he was the High King of Ireland responsible for kidnapping St. Patrick. So that is one of my, ancestors.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
that's super crazy.
I'd hold Rick hostage.
Wow. He got all that from 23andMe, folks.
Right. Isn't that crazy? So here's another thought that just popped into my head. So like talking about this, again, I'm going to go back to this Irish piece of my DNA. When I think back to how long ago this had to have happened, how revolutionary it was, and how unorthodox and out of the box it is, right? Not only was this person, they traveled at a time when like they couldn't just hop on a plane like we discussed, right? They were literally going to a foreign land that was, today with...
Yeah, on a disgusting boat.
Right.
Yeah,
today we know what to expect wherever we're going.
Yeah.
But then they didn't know what to expect. And if I throw this in, that DNA is in me because of a mixed race child, which had to have been super, super, super taboo.
Super weird ginger on the Philippine Isles.
Or vice versa. Like, because we don't know, like,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
happened,
You don't know if it...
We don't know.
Yeah.
We have no idea, like,
well, the Vikings did some crazy crap back then, too, man. They just invaded everybody, including Ireland. And then went everywhere else around the world and just populated
we
themselves.
don't know. But and here's the thing is I have to keep myself from really dwelling on it too much because it'll drive me crazy not having the answer, because these are things that I want to have the answer to. Right.
If you keep asking, you might find out. You know.
I don't know. Let's start by saying, like, I at least want to get the name of my great grandfather.
Yeah.
I still don't know that. But then, like, if we go back and back and back and back, like, how far back do I have to go to find who this person is? What if his name is like Dave McNeely?
You're screwed then, my friend.
I can see the resemblance.
Exactly.
But they call him Sexy
brother
Dave.
from another
Sexy Dave, sexy.
great
As opposed to
grandpa.
Spicy Dave.
Exactly. The two are distinct.
Yes.
I like to think there's a little bit of McBiff in everybody.
It could be.
Maybe there is. Maybe there is.
Is that why I'm so arrogant?
Yes,
Exactly.
that's exactly why you're arrogant.
Or I'm just arrogant naturally.
No, it's because of me.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So serious thoughts about like how this whole thing has changed. You know, there's also stuff online that people find out about where, they found out that this person wasn't their real father, or they found out that this person wasn't
Povich.
right, or they find out they're adopted, or they find out that there was a scandal in the family, and you know, a lot of secrets that die with these people, if not for these particular tools to help us look at our
Well, we're
DNA.
living in the land of information now, man.
Sure.
This is the first time in history the whole world knows everything now.
Oh, right.
Like
found-
Nothing
every
is sacred.
every culture, every religion, every political everything is all mixing together for the first time in human history.
You could look up any name, any
and it's
address,
insane. It's awesome.
Oh,
we're all trying to figure it out, but we're finding so many good things out too about it.
Oh,
it's so interesting.
Yeah, I found a
love it.
relative who her father was one of my dad's uncles, like illegitimate children, just through the DNA testing, and we got in contact, and she's like, "Oh yeah," she goes, "We're related," and I'm like, "Okay," I'm like, I had no idea who the heck she was, but then when she started sending me stuff about my she started sending me stuff like
You just did it again.
behave.
All right, go ahead.
She would send me stuff like
She sharded
from
on
my
you?
grandfather. Like my grandfather died when my dad was 6, and so she was sending me photos of my dad's father and all this other stuff. I was like, what the heck? So I mean, it was the real deal. And then she goes, "Oh yeah," and she joked, and she goes, "Oh yeah," she goes, "My father was one of your dad's uncles, like illegitimate children." But we matched up on like DNA. I was like, holy smokes! I mean, this is cool.
Wow, that is neat.
Yeah, I mean, this is like fun. So you get to find some like good stories, some bad stories, and so
I've gone
Florida
through
stories.
after I got my results. It shows everybody that I have shared DNA with, right? People that I'm related to. And I tried connecting with some of them, and I did connect with a few. Not everyone replied to me because they just don't check their 23andMe app. And the ones that did connect with me, like I haven't had any communication with them other than like, "Hey, we're related, we should connect," and so they just click accept. But there's this whole thing about like that's your third cousin twice removed, which I have trouble understanding.
I still don't get all that. It's
No
like, who
one
removed you
does.
from being my cousin?
Well, I know somewhere out there I'm related to Neil Diamond and Phil Jackson.
Is
so
that true?
I'm somewhere out there. I don't know.
Really?
Somewhere.
Really?
Well, I can croon like Neil Diamond, and the mindset of Phil Jackson and I are on the same page. So I'm just somewhere I think I'm related.
You look just like Neil Diamond.
Well, he is the Jewish Elvis, so
you're the Irish
he?
Elvis,
there you go. He is more hits than any song.
and you're the Irish Elvis. Although Elvis was Irish as well, Irish
there you
Native
go.
American.
There you go.
and some-
Was he really?
yeah, he was Irish Native American and some other things.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I did an Ancestry.com, or my dad did. I didn't do it. But I just figured I'm the same as he is since he's my dad.
Oh well, that's
But we had like
pretty solid.
3% Native American. And I was like, hey, look at me. I got some Native American in me.
Did you look that up any further to
No,
find out?
not yet. But I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start with that.
Well,
I was
Patrick
already
gets
having
lost.
trouble trying to figure out the lineage of the family,
Yeah,
let
yeah.
alone where that. And
Yeah.
I would love to come across that because I've only gotten, like I said, on the McNeely side, I've only been able to get back to 1901. But on my mom's side, I was able to get all the way back to like Plymouth Rock.
Wow, that's
Wow.
pretty cool.
And I
That's
found,
pretty cool.
a war hero in the Civil War, that fought for the North that died. And we went and visited his grave in Arlington.
Wow.
Oh, man.
And that was really cool, I'm like,
Did you
hey,
feel
look
connected to him?
Yeah. I was like, wow,
Isn't it
this is
strange?
family, man. He
Isn't it
fought in the
strange?
Civil War, and he died in the Civil War, and now he's laid to rest at Arlington. I have a family member somewhere that's buried there.
Isn't that strange? It's strange to me that when I found out about this particular piece of my DNA, that I just felt like, I wanted to connect with this person. I felt this wave of emotion, like, who is this person? Right. And if the assumption is that he was a fish out of water in the Philippines, mm-hmm. I instantly empathized with him, even though I have no idea who he is. all because he's in my DNA, right. Like he's a family member. So there's a
connection.
It just made me think like
that's what's always connected humans, man, is family.
Sure.
I know we're transitioning nowadays, I mean, at least I am. I'm not saying everybody is, because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but in the past couple years, just like family that I've accepted people, non-blood, as family.
Sure.
Found family. What do you call that? There's like a name for it.
Well, found family is pretty good.
Whatever.
I like that. Found family.
So, I mean, like...
Because that's the family you get to pick.
Means
you don't
more to me
get
than...
to pick who
because I come
is.
from some pretty shitty family.
Yeah,
as far as blood.
Right.
I'm sure we all do.
Right.
But, I mean, I have close friends that mean so much more to me than the people I was born into.
Right.
So
well, that's your tribe. That's your
exactly.
family.
It's like the tribe. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with all that, but I mean, I still want to know the history, but not my current family history, because they kind of suck outside of my parents.
Well, and I think for me that's the same thing. I just don't have much of an interest in finding, or at least I haven't. Listening, and talking with you guys, it would be great to have a great history story to tie into somebody, or some event that was famous or a great event. But the families who I make and who I surround myself with now, I find my immediate family is not particularly people I care to surround myself with.
I've recently discovered blood is definitely not thicker than
and
water.
But you don't get to choose that family. That's a different type of type of family.
Yeah.
Here's another thought that blows me away, and talking about, again, this particular piece of my DNA of someone coming from Ireland. So, however they found their way to the Philippines, now prior to knowing this, I always thought that I had Spanish in my DNA. And I always envisioned someone coming from Spain to the Philippines. I actually, when I did research on my name, I somehow came to the conclusion that it was Portuguese, which would make sense if you look at where Portuguese sits in the map with Spain. They're side by side. And I thought, okay, someone came from Portugal to Spain and found their way to the Philippines, and that's where the Spanish comes from, because my name is either Portuguese or Spanish. And I envisioned that. And then when I learned that there's no Spanish in my DNA, which absolutely blew me away, because I believed that my whole life, that changed to this Irish person that's in my DNA. And now I envision that person coming to the Philippines. And then at one point, my parents migrated here to the United States, and now I'm living in California. And I grew up in Southern California. My kids were born, both of them were born in Fullerton. And who knows where my ancestors will end up down the road, however many generations that could be.
Probably back in Ireland.
Who knows, right?
Or Spain.
And I think about that.
Or the moon.
That migration path, right?
Yeah.
Of how this particular gene, this string of DNA moves from this continent to this continent to this continent, or however that happens.
Right.
That's another thing that blows my mind.
That's amazing.
Right?
It's pretty
Especially
cool,
for the history,
man.
for how
It's
long
totally
ago that
cool.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally cool.
Because it's such a mystery. I mean,
Yeah,
you can think about it all day. You'll never figure it out today.
No.
But it's still cool to think about and talk about.
Yeah.
And then everybody, I think, in America has that story. The people that care, I guess.
You ever wonder?
Not you.
What your ancestors
Dan Watson.
might possibly look at?
A little.
Did you ever watch? So I'm sure you watched Back to the Future. In the third installment, Marty McFly meets his great-grandfather?
Yeah, or
Yes.
great-great-grandfather.
Great-great-grandfather?
Yeah, like I think the baby was his great-grandfather.
I don't know. That was the least of the good ones.
No way, dude.
Back to the
Dude,
Future
number 3 was so good.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me,
Dude,
Oh,
that was such a good
board
one.
the train. Why don't you just
Shut up.
Shove on out.
Shut up,
Come on.
Dan.
Just take that all
Shut
aboard.
the fuck
shove
up,
on
Dan.
down the road. Jeez, how do you remake these originals? That's just crime. What a crime.
This is why nobody wants you here, Dan.
I wish the two of you.
know,
could
whatever.
find-
If you
I wish
like Back
two
to the
of you
Future
could take
3,
a
then I'm
position
out of
on
here. I
something.
can't believe that. Jeez.
I wish
This
is why you don't care about family.
family.
This is why your family
I
doesn't
got
care
your
about you
sequel
either.
right here, pal.
It's not even a sequel. It's a third.
It's a
quill.
thurkle.
Yeah,
Yeah, and everybody,
it's an Urkel.
everybody loves The Hangover 3 too. Come on now.
I did.
Well, you know what? Back to the Future 3. So what were you saying about
I was bringing that up because there's a scene where Marty McFly meets great grandfather Seamus McFly.
Yeah,
Was it Seamus McFly?
Yeah.
And he was a ginger,
total.
right?
Well, yeah.
And he looked like him, right? Because it's played
Because it was him.
by Michael J. Fox. But the idea is
funny
that
how that
that's his
works.
ancestor. So I again, this is another mind-blowing thought just to me, and I keep turning this back to me. Another
your
mind-blowing thought to me is that this 0.1% Irish person in my DNA, like how different that he must look from me, or she must
Right,
look from
right.
me.
Sure.
Right. So that's another mind-blowing thought.
Could
but
be spitting image.
Could be.
A redheaded Adrian.
You know, it's funny. I went to Ireland, like
Yeah.
me and my wife. Wow,
Yeah.
I think like 4 years ago.
A little while ago, yeah.
Didn't see one ginger in all of Ireland.
Really?
Not one.
Really?
Like most of the,
You
I've
think that
never
would be
been.
like
Okay,
blondes
so
out
I've never
there?
been to Ireland.
Huh.
I was just expecting to see like super pale faced, redhead, weird looking, freckled people.
The normal.
Yeah.
I was like expecting to see me walking around. And it was all like blonde haired or black haired people.
Wow.
I saw like maybe 4 redheads.
Wow.
It was super weird. I was just, because we grow up here
Right.
and everything Irish
That's
in
what
every
we
movie
expect.
or whatever is just like some crazy redhead, freckled, pale faced person.
Right.
But you go out to Ireland, yeah, their pale face is crazy because it's nothing but clouds out there.
Sure.
But it's all black hair or blonde hair.
Yeah.
I was like, this is super weird.
odd,
I was
yeah.
not expecting
Yeah,
this.
so when I would go in college, I would go to debate camp in the East Coast, but I would fly into Boston.
you went to debate camp.
Debate camp, yes. In the I would go to the University of Vermont. So, but I would. It was,
Was that
cheaper.
offered by the YMCA?
Yeah, so I would fly
Rick grew
into
up in a whole
Boston,
different
hang
world
out
than
in
we
Boston, and then go to Vermont. But this ties into what you're saying. And so my ex-wife and I, she was my debate partner. We'd fly into Boston, stay at the.
Wait.
What a great debate partner.
You had a good debate partner.
What? Yes. So my ex-wife.
When you went to debate camp,
Yeah, the University of Vermont.
Did you stay in debate dorms?
Yeah.
Yeah, we stayed at the Vermont like 2 weeks.
Was there
So-
special sides that people got on a debate
No,
camp?
it's like so you'd go and you go with like.
Did
so,
you guys fight over who had
No.
the best bunk? And
I was
why
gonna
it
say-
mattered so
Yeah,
much?
so this ties into what you were saying about the black
doesn't
hair.
at
The black,
all.
so we'd fly into Boston, hang
I'm
out
still stuck
there.
on the debate camp.
Yeah,
Right?
so, this is
I'm
like-
stuck on the
Have
debate
you ever heard
camp
that in
with
your
my
life?
ex-wife.
Wait
as
a
my
Have you ever heard
partner.
anybody say, "Hey, I went to debate camp"?
Yes. So
With my
anyway,
partner, my
so
ex-wife, as
we
the
would
debate
stay
partner.
at the,
Like he was married at the time and he went to
no,
debate camp.
no, we weren't married at the time.
Did
we
you
got
guys
married.
debate each other?
No.
How
so
old were you when you went to debate camp?
I was in my early 20s. So
Are you fucking serious?
I was in
You
my
went to a debate camp in your
In your
early
20s.
yeah, I was in
You
college.
weren't like 10?
No, I was so. Anyways, it was college. So this
Fuck, I
time-
want to know more about this.
I'm
freak.
telling you a story. Like anyway,
Nobody cares
so
about what
this
you're about
ties
to
into
say.
yours about Ireland. So
Okay.
we go there.
All right, let's talk about
and
it.
so we'd go to Boston, hang out for a couple days, and stay at the Irish Embassy pub and youth hostel. The youth hostel was above the pub, so it was really cool. And so then, but it was interesting because a lot of the people, because this is like when the first time I went to Boston, because I'm used to California, so I go to Boston, I was like, holy smokes! I had never seen people that had my coloring, like the dark hair, like the pale and the blue eyes. And I was like, oh my, like, and they were like, I was talking to these people and they were like fresh off the boat from Ireland. And it's like, and I was trying to understand. I'm like, what the?
Were they all looking for debate camp?
No, I was trying to figure like it was hard to understand what they were saying. I'm like, they look like me, but I can't understand them. I'm like, no offense to my friends from Ireland, but it's like they were like, I couldn't, the very thick accents, but it was kind of cool seeing like that coloring, because like the dark hair, the light skin, and the blue eyes, it's like usually don't see that, and it's like my family's like dark hair, light skin, blue eyes, and but it was like really cool. So then anyway, back to your debate circuit. So then we take the Greyhound bus, we go to the University of Vermont and go to 2 weeks for a debate camp. Policy
2 weeks?
debate
Debate
weeks.
camp?
Yeah, debate camp.
You guys debate whether it should be 1 week or 2 weeks.
I don't even want to know.
I'm curious.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either. I'm curious. What do you debate at debate camp?
Okay, so
Oh God, here we go.
So debate camp.
Whether it should be 1 week or 2.
No. See, so the college would have the college policy debate topics
gonna be
would
so
be announced
boring.
during the summer, and so then
There was a topic.
there's a topic. There was
So
a
there was
year-long
no
topic.
argument about whether pineapple should be on pizza.
Exactly. So
you know what? I'm on the fence because
Yeah,
I
so-
just had pineapple on pizza.
Yeah,
It was all right.
So, for example, one of the topics was that the United States federal government should substantially change its foreign policy towards Mexico. So you needed to make some type of change towards a policy change between the U.S. and Mexico. So what I did, because I was
not
very
pineapple
sneaky,
on pizza.
is I said, under the intellectual property rights provision of NAFTA, only Mexico had the right
Boy,
to
this
make...
podcast took a hard
Wow,
left.
yeah.
Wait, no,
This is why we don't let Rick take over.
this is funny. This is funny. So it's like
Is
only...
this ha-ha funny?
Wait, no, this is haha funny. Because
it's not.
You'll appreciate this because
Okay.
drinking ties
All right.
into
All
it.
right.
Nobody's gone ha ha at
No,
all yet.
trust
But
me.
drinking ties into Rick.
No, drinking ties into it. So under the intellectual property rights provision of NAFTA, only Mexico had the right to make, market, and distribute tequila within the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. So there was a Canadian company and a U.S. Trust me, it gets funny. A Canadian company and a U.S. company that were they were making drinks that were called margarita flavored that 2/3 of the American consumers thought had tequila in it. So Mexico was
Anybody
complaining that
following this yet?
well, anyway, so they were saying, hey, it's a violation of NAFTA. So my debate case says that we changed NAFTA and said that any spirits label that references margarita has to contain tequila in it. And so it's a very squirrely case because people were thinking about immigration
Dave's
or other
dying.
so and so like how do you debate against
down.
giving Mexico the rights to make, market, and distribute
Oh,
tequila?
clearly. How do you?
Yeah, so you so anyway.
Well, we should debate about it.
Yeah, so we do it. So that's the stuff that I would do. I was very squirrely.
All right.
No.
Did
So,
they teach you to
Rick
sit
is
like that at
squirrely?
debate camp?
Yes. So yes.
With
so,
your knees crossed over one another?
I love it.
so,
He's the best.
Okay, so
You know what, Rick? I love you so much. There is so much more I have to learn. I've known you for how long now?
too long.
And I've never known you went to debate camp.
Yes, I went to debate camp.
I was gonna say, how do we recover from that?
I have a silver in college.
You just
national.
move
So
on.
he got a medal.
I took
He
silver.
not only
I
did he
mean,
go to debate camp, he
do you want-
medaled
I took a
in
silver
debate
in
camp.
college nationals, Lincoln Douglas debate.
Bam.
I think it's more,
Yeah,
I'm not
drop
going
the
to
mic
talk
right
about
there.
debate
Drop off,
camp.
boom.
Okay, mic drop.
And that's how I met my ex-wife.
Did she win?
And that's how I met your mother.
All right, he threw a your mama
Show's
joke in
over.
there.
Oh,
All right, we forgive you. You threw
that's
the
the
your mama
reach.
joke. in there.
That's the reach.
That's what I took.
Thank you.
That's great. Perfect. That was good. I like
I
that.
love it. I
What a
love it.
segue. So, how is your mom?
Are you still a bartender?
Oh, okay. Yes, what would you like?
Ice and whiskey.
Okay. Okay.
Your choice.
Thanks, fabulous one.
Thank you.
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for asking.
No, you need more.
I've never knew
No.
debate camp existed in,
No,
in
so,
is
I
it
mean,
only
so,
in Boston?
So, in all honesty,
mean-
Dave, in all honesty, McBiff, are you surprised?
Yeah.
That leads me into asking.
How many Connemara?
Yes.
Okay, so
That leads me into asking, what are some of the things that people might be surprised about you that they don't know?
Dan
he's
Watson.
wearing no underwear.
Dan
Yes,
Watson.
yes,
Thank
I am naked from the waist
Oh,
down.
is that all I get?
Let's see. Whatever you pick. Whatever you pick, Rick. No, I'm at that point where it's
Red
whatever's
breast.
in the glass is going down. So,
Whatever's in the glass is going down.
so well, whoa, wait a minute. Let me rephrase that there. Gosh,
We don't know too much about Dan.
I don't know.
really.
What,
He never
like
talks.
what is it that you don't know about me, Dave? I mean,
The size
Something
of your
about you. Something about you that might surprise people. What's something about you that your wife wouldn't know? You've been married to her for 20
my gosh, you should probably call
years, is
her
that
because
right?
I don't know if I'm allowed to release it.
Well, if she wouldn't know,
So-
if she
Well,
would,
that she wouldn't know.
yeah, that she wouldn't know.
Gosh, I've been done with Dawn for 28 years, so I really think Dawn knows me better than I know myself.
Okay.
She signs my signature better than I sign my own signature.
Oh, really?
Gosh, yeah.
Can I say
my
that-
best friend, my best friend in
is
the
she
world.
signing your artwork then?
Well, no, let's not go that far. Let's not go that far. But my best friend, I would be lost, absolutely lost.
kind of Mario.
Let's see.
Okay,
So
what,
can I
what's-
just say that Dan Watson and his wife holds the coolest Halloween party
Well, thank
every
you.
year.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
I mean, it is seriously the best,
Thank
most
you.
fun Halloween
love it.
party
Thank
I've
you.
ever been to in my
love it.
life.
Yeah.
They
Dawn's
have-
got a birthday on the 30th, so we've always held Halloween.
talk
as a
about
big
you.
day.
Don't talk
I'm
about
sorry,
yourself.
I'm sorry.
Let me talk
I'm
about
sorry, Dave. Sorry.
Dan has the coolest freaking house on, like, I don't know what, 2 acres, 1
2.5,
acre,
right.
whatever. They got this giant horse pen with no horses in it, first off.
Nice.
But he's got this garage the size of the Philippines, I'd say. It's at least that size.
Hey, thanks for throwing the Philippines in there.
That's
I love
right.
it.
That's right. At least one tenth of 100%, right?
And you have at
Bonus
least
point.
500 bicycles in there.
I do have
that
a
are
beach
all
cruiser
really
collection.
cool old twins. They're like from, anyway. So every year we go to Dan's house. What do we call it? What's the party?
The Boo Bash. My wife has the Boo Bash.
It
party.
is so much fun.
Yes.
It is, everybody just lets loose. They leave their kids at home. We go insane. We're up all night long.
Thank you.
And Dan hires like bands to play. Like more than one band will come out and play. And kegs everywhere you look. I
Wow.
mean, Dan spends so much money on
we
this
do a
party.
big-
It's
big
insane.
to-do.
I'm the only one that gets there early to help try to set up. by the way.
And everybody, I assume, just goes all out with their costumes.
Oh,
So we
yeah.
do that. So I'll make
Especially that they
artwork for the
okay, hold
for the
on. Let me
prizes.
talk about
I'm
you
sorry,
first
sorry,
before you talk about
I'm
yourself.
sorry. Go ahead.
They hire people to dress them in their costumes and makeup.
Wow.
All right, now you can talk about yourself.
Yeah. So we it's a big to do for us, and we've always held the 31st is a big deal. Dawn's birthday is on the 30th, and when we moved out to Acton, we ended up moving on a 2.5 acre parcel. And before, we used to live across the street from an elementary school. So when we would decorate for Halloween, the community was really
Right,
involved, and the
right,
kids
right.
every day would come and walk by the house and read
Right.
all the little nursery rhymes on the tombstones and stuff. And then we had it really, really toned down for the kids and for the elementary school and stuff. So then I moved to Acton, and I mean, a horse would ride by once a day, and that was about the traffic that we got and stuff.
Yeah.
So we started throwing a big the Boo Bash, and I would do it'd be 2 to 3 months worth of preparation in advance, and that would always include a big project for me, a new art project of sculpture or something like that, and then
He's not even giving it justice.
every one of my kids would get to pick a pick of the year when they go to the store. And so we probably got, gosh, I've been with Dawn for 28 years. So we got 28 years of saving of Halloween,
Yeah.
big
The
ticket
decorations
items.
are
And
insane.
yeah, so we do the whole
It's
house.
like going to Not Scary Farm.
Wow.
Seriously.
Big deal.
So the reason why I
But
ask
better.
is that
Yeah.
I'll when I see a Halloween party in the movies or on TV or something, I always say to myself, I've never seen a Halloween party like that.
Oh, dude, Dan blows all
So
those
I've
away.
been to one of those parties, and that was what we were aspiring for when we started throwing our parties. Was so that's why what Dave's talking about is every year we try to up it. We every year is what can we do to improve it from the following year or the previous year, and we want you to come back. So
Yeah.
so if we throw a great party with with the photo booths and we had a
photo booths are
photographer.
awesome.
Yeah, the photo
It's
booth's
like-
awesome, and just I ended
go
up
to a
hiring a
carnival.
bartender instead. It was just easier just to have the bartender make everybody's drinks
Nice,
and stuff,
nice.
and then the bands and all that stuff. So
Nice.
it was something to get you to want to come out. Now again, living in Acton, so it's a little
It's a
tough to get
distance
people
from
to come
me.
out. Yeah.
And so I owe an apology for that because I was invited to the last one. I know you didn't have one last year unless
Right.
I wasn't invited
Right.
to it.
well, we didn't have one.
But the year before I was invited and I thought, wow, it's just such a distance for me. So I didn't
Right.
go.
So much fun.
Right.
It's worth it.
So and then what we would do for people too is we do have like Dave would stay in the spare room. We did have people bring their RVs and stuff because we got the property, so they would camp out on the property. So every year we'd end up with 2 or 3 RVs that people would bring
a
to stay, and
Yeah.
trampoline. We have people camp out on the trampoline and whatnot.
I've been to tiki parties before where people brought tents
Yeah.
and they just camped out on the side yard where
Yeah.
all the grass is.
Right.
And I thought, oh, this is pretty cool because then people are drinking in their tents
Yeah, they
and
don't
then they're
care,
just
right,
going from
right.
1:10 to the next, and they just don't sleep though. You know, they end up they stay up drinking until the sun.
Oh yeah,
Right.
There's people until the
rises
sun
and-
comes up. At the
Right, right.
The only time I've done that since my 20s is at your house.
And then we go every afterwards. We'll go to the local diner down the road and we'll end up having breakfast.
Biscuits and gravy,
The
dude.
biggest
Just like
ridiculous
5
plate.
plates.
Yeah, you know, their average
Give me
omelet
10
is like
eggs.
6 eggs. And
Oh, that's awesome. There used to be a place out here near Ontario Airport, and it was years ago. I think they closed down over a decade ago, and I can't remember the name, but they had giant portions to where they had the pancakes all of it would hang over the edge of the plate.
Right.
And you'd have to cut a
like the
hole in the
shell
middle of the pancakes
the
to
heart
put the
route.
syrup.
Exactly.
Or else it would run
to
off.
hold it, right.
Yeah, it would run off onto the table, right? And then they had coffee was a quarter, and it was a bottomless cup for a quarter. And it was crazy. It was in an old house that was there for like 100 years, up until probably about maybe 10 or 20 years ago. And it got torn down. They built, a bunch of other stuff out there.
Right.
Well, that sucks.
Industrial buildings, and things are expanding around
It's
the
all
airport.
getting torn down now. It's all getting torn
Yeah. But it was this old house. It was an old craftsman house that had been there since the 1800s sometime, or maybe even the early 1900s, but it'd been there for like 100 years.
Right.
And you would wait like an hour and a half. People would just all be standing around outside this house in the front yard. And you walk in, and the house was just converted to the kitchen was still being used. Mm-hmm. They've expanded, of course, to be able to accommodate everybody, but the whole house was just converted into tables and chairs. So
Yeah, all for serving.
yeah, it was crazy. The food wasn't. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it also wasn't like you didn't go there for their gourmet.
It was comfort.
I'm sure it had a following,
gourmet
like
cooking. It
almost
was
like a
comfort
city
food.
following, huh?
Yeah.
Where once the city
Local
workers
following,
go, that's
and
the
it was a
hotspot.
word of mouth kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like everybody
yeah.
knew that place through someone else.
Right. I work for the city, so we've got certain spots like that are city hot spots where all the
Gotcha.
city employees, know that spot.
Oh, okay.
and whatnot, yeah.
Gotcha.
They
Yeah.
used to have a little wait and stuff.
I went to that big Disneyland auction. Remember that thing a
Yeah.
couple years ago?
Yeah.
Like in the big giant warehouse in LA.
Yep.
And Dan was working on a telephone pole, and I drove right underneath him, and I didn't know it. And he saw me in my truck, I guess.
He
Yep.
flipped you off.
Hey, Dave, are you gonna go to that Disney thing?
Yep.
And like he's up there working with the power lines and shit. That was kind of funny.
Yep. But he was
That's
busy.
hilarious.
Yeah, he's busy.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's
Me
it.
and Rick Miller got in a big fight at your house during one of your parties.
There seems to have been a few fights at my house.
Not with each other.
No, not with each
Not
other.
with each other.
There was some jerk that showed up and did some bad stuff.
Yeah, so Rick and Dave
Don't
pulled
say who the
security
person
for me.
is. We
so-
just-
no,
No,
they
we
pulled
won't-
some
we won't
security.
say his name or
No,
nothing.
no, they pulled some security for us, so
Yeah. We have to
we did
regulate.
the right thing. That's
But-
it.
Oh, regulate.
That's right. That's right. But it's nice to know you have friends that take care of you.
Yeah.
Take care of business
Yeah.
when you're there. So,
But it's like that was a one off because
Yeah.
it is like the best party like absolutely ever. It's like I.
but when you get 200 people together, there's always one or two people
yeah.
that just can't.
Well,
and that's
That's a
usually
lot of
me
people.
and Dave.
Yeah,
like
he
the
was
bad
being a
people.
little bit of inappropriate to an underage girl at the party.
Oh yeah, you need to squash
And
that.
They
I
regulated
invited him to the back of the house to have a beer with me, and he didn't leave.
So what?
And then Rick Miller showed up and helped out.
He eventually left.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
need to
well,
squash
he
that
fell
kind of stuff.
asleep somehow. But that's kind of what you get if you do stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and so that's what's great about the party. It's like everyone like self-regulates, and it's like it's a amazing fun time, and everyone kind of looks out for each other, and like that is like the highlight of my year is going to dance.
Oh, I don't know
party.
about that,
And
but you're
here's-
all right.
So,
You're
here,
all right.
so here's the funny
Seriously,
thing.
it is.
So here's the funny thing is like. So we've been going there for years, and then when Sharon came, and she works for Spirit Halloween, and so this is all she does all year long is like Halloween stuff. We got so busy that none of us were able to get a
The
costume.
weakest costumes ever.
Like,
you would think for Spirit.
Oh my
Halloween.
God.
Yeah,
You would think for
that's,
Spirit.
mind you,
Halloween,
I had always dressed up before, but
like a sheet with 2 holes would have been better.
yeah, it was. So I'm just like we were so embarrassed because we didn't get a chance to do a costume, and she works for
Yeah.
Spirit Halloween, and so we show up, and it's just like we had no costume. And
But
Right?
she was
How
impressed with
weird
the
was
party.
that?
So
She's
if
impressed with
you can impress
Yeah.
a representative for Spirit
Yes,
Halloween, then that's
she
pretty good.
was like, "This is the best." She said,
Okay,
this is the
so
best Halloween
2021, 2021 is it looking
Acting
like it's gonna
California. Is that
happen?
what we're looking at?
Is it looking like it's? Gonna
I
happen
don't know.
this
Let's
year?
ask. Should we? Well, we don't want to go there. We'll see what happens in 2021. We'll
see what
come
happens in
towards
2021.
October, right?
Because you start planning around June, July, I think, right? Months early.
Yeah, I mean, we start planning as early as now. I mean,
Are we going to bring the whole audience to your party?
Bro, we're gonna bring the debate,
the whole
debate team.
Oh, yeah,
there you go. Wow, I don't know if we could sponsor that many people.
Dude, debate camp this year. That's a thing.
Debate camp at Dan's Tiki Party.
Halloween debate camp.
Halloween
So
party.
that's what we've done. So we've
Tiki, yes or no?
We've changed. I had a game room, and the game room used to be an art gallery. And when I first moved into the house, I stocked it with the pool table and the ping pong and the foosball for the kids.
Right.
800 square foot stupid game room, by the way.
Yeah,
in
it's
one
pretty
room in
big.
the house.
So I stocked it with all the games for the kids, and they never used it. They never came over. My daughter, I love her to death and everything, but it just never got used. And then, so I was going to build the tiki bar outside, and then my wife says, "No, take the game room to stop spending money out there and spend it in the house." And she made sense, and I'm thankful that we went that route. But now that it's the tiki room, everybody uses it now. So nobody can.
Can you call it what it's called?
The Black Pearl Lounge.
Yes.
As soon as you open the doors, the cats,
Instagram,
the dogs, the
all that
grandkids,
junk.
everybody wants to hang out in there. Nobody wants to leave, and it's just the escapism of the room really helps out a lot. So
I love it.
Yeah,
Dan
so we
has
love it
the
a lot,
one
so.
tiki mug I made specially for myself.
My favorite,
at his
my
stupid
favorite.
House that I kind of wish I never gave.
That is my favorite mug, and that's why it's
Regrets.
my favorite. Regrets. That's right.
Regrets.
The fact that I could dangle it over Dave's head whenever he comes over, and literally it does because he walks right underneath it.
So I've never released a tiki mug. I mean, I've had hundreds of people ask, literally. I'm like, no, I haven't done
Coming
tiki
soon.
mug, whatever.
Coming soon.
So yeah, well, there is one, but I did actually carve. I made about 12 mugs by
Didn't
myself.
get one, by the way. Just FYI.
Well,
Only
the
Dan
ranking.
got one.
Exactly.
So I mean, my buddy has a ceramic studio in Santa Ana, so I'd go over there and play around. So I made like 12 mugs. I carved them all by myself, and they're all kind of fun. I think all of them are still there, except for the one I gave you that I made for myself, because I made this extra large one to fit my hand.
Okay.
And I brought it to his party, and he loved it so much. And he's like, "Oh, I love your blah 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 blah. You've never made a tiki mug." And I was like, "Here you go." And I'm drunk,
right.
You know?
So me and Dave have always had a relationship. When I met him, is we trade art.
Now I
too.
don't have it.
So I've always been
Right, artists do that.
As soon as I met Dave, I've been a huge fan from day one.
Right,
Even before I
right.
met Dave, when I saw his
Right.
art on the wall, huge fan. And so since I met Dave, we've kind of just traded art back
Very
and
nice.
forth. And
Yeah.
I see a lot of
Very
art
nice.
that Dave does that inspires me to maybe carve a piece for him to
Yeah,
to
yeah.
throw back at him. And Dave's always
And
reciprocated
I
with
brought
stuff.
one that
and
you carved. Not that we
Yeah,
could
yeah.
see it on the podcast.
So
But
Yeah,
it's
we
for
can't see it on the
Stone
podcast,
Brewing,
but
and it's very cool.
we'll put that on a video for our listeners so that they can see that on a video.
well, thank you.
So, but we are at the 1 hour mark, so I'm going to
Oh wow! Are we?
put the brakes on this one because I have a plan that I want to try to execute before the sun goes down.
More shots
Nice.
of whiskey? Oh, I'm all for that.
Now that
do it.
now that we're lubricated, but I'm going to throw this out to you guys. We'll throw this out after we finish the recording. But so in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and sign this one off. But I want to thank everybody for listening to another episode of Inside the Desert Oasis Room. And before we wrap up, why don't we throw out everybody's social medias or anything that we want to promote? I want to make sure that people know about the new McBiff shirt.
Oh yeah, I guess we should talk about
beautiful.
that. Because I mean, we yeah.
It's nice. It's
Pockets
beautiful.
line up.
Absolutely.
Pockets line up.
Absolutely. Bring back memories.
I'm not just trying to promote the shirt. I'm trying
No,
to sell.
promote it.
Promote
No,
it.
no.
But it's
Don't
a
be
very
shy.
special project to me.
Yeah,
there is
so let's
beautiful
do
shirt.
it.
I mean, I think it relates to everybody. I mean, especially this past year. So many things have been closed. So many places have been
Right.
gone.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the years, a lot of our favorite places have closed down.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I'm so nostalgic. I have always been like that. I want to make a design to put some of these places that I love and miss and other ones that I've never even been to that other people love into some kind of design. I mean, I've never seen that before. So my first one, I put Dawn the Beachcombers on there because that's the one I miss the most.
Yeah.
You know, so Dawn's is like front and center on this shirt. And I got like Trader Vic's in Beverly Hills, you know.
Right,
And
right.
I really miss Bahukas. I
Right.
mean, that was my introduction.
I love Bahukas. I love it.
You
I
know,
used to go there every year for my birthday.
There's Kona Lane's on here.
Kona Lanes,
Dawn's.
you know, and what else do I got on here? Jesus, I've
Elbow.
had too many whiskeys.
Well, I see Dawn-
I
I
have
see
the
Dawn's.
Kahiki. I've never been to Kahiki, but everybody talks about it.
I love it. So
That's a great
And
design.
Kelbows. I mean,
So if people
so
wanna-
Big Toe told me to put Kelbows on it.
if people want to get this shirt or see this shirt, let's throw out the webpage, McBiff.com.
www.mcbiff.com.
McBiff.com. And if you want to follow our friend McBiff, we can throw out the Instagram at McBiffArt.com.
Yeah, you just type in McBiff, you'll find it.
And
He's
our
that
friend
famous.
Dan Watson is also an artist. Dan Watson.
You can find me at danwatsonart.com or Dan Watson Art on Yahoo or pardon me, on Facebook or Instagram. And then we run my wife's running a page for the Black Pearl Lounge. That's our home
Black
tiki
Pearl
bar,
Lounge.
and that's on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Okay.
And for photographers, if you're looking to photograph at a really cool tiki place, Black Pearl Lounge.
Black
Dan-
Pearl
And
Lounge,
we've got Rick
Black
Miller
Pearl
as the
Lounge.
photographer. If anybody's
And
looking
Rick
for a
Miller. And let's throw
photographer.
out Rick Miller. Speaking
That's
of Rick
it.
Miller.
That's it. The
Or the
fabulous,
Desert Oasis.
The fabulous Rick Miller.
the fabulous spicy Rick.
And what's your Instagram?
Rick Miller time.
Rick Miller Time, at Rick Miller Time. And follow us at Polynesian Pop. You can get previous episodes of this podcast at desertoasisroom.com. And we thank you all for listening to another episode of Inside the Desert Oasis Room. Until next time, folks, cheers.
Cheers.
And aloha.
Aloha.
Tagay.
Slancha.
Tagai.
Tagay.
Together.